Jesus, and Jesus is God. And Jesus came to earth to die for our sins, and he raised from the grave so that we can have eternal life and live with him forever in heaven. It's a great thing to talk about because God is the one who will set you free from sin. And sin is the bad stuff we do, and the bad stuff we think, and the bad stuff we say, and the bad stuff we do, and the bad stuff we say, like lying and not being truthful. Sin is just on our hearts, but God takes it and puts it on his own son while he's dying on the cross. He took our sin so that we can live with him forever. And that's amazing. It's amazing that God takes our sin and gives it to Jesus, and Jesus dies on the cross and raised from the grave, and we can have eternal life with him. That's crazy. But I just wanted to talk to you guys about that because I know I love Jesus. I just love you, and I want to say goodbye. Goodbye, everyone.
Do you want to see a miracle like an absolute no other way to explain it than it's a miracle? If you don't know, besides sheep and cattle, we also grow corn. My husband Kevin and my son, they plant and we sell to grocery stores like Food Line, Aldi, Harris Teeter, Food City. But this season, after planting the corn, we went, sorry, I'm like shaky. We went 28 days. I think it was over 28 days with zero rain. Day 26, no rain on the cornfield. I have not lost faith that God has all of this under control. I've not lost faith that his plan is absolutely perfect, whether the rain comes or it doesn't. But I'd be lying if I said it wasn't hard. Hard to look at that field with all of that hard work that was put into it and see those leaves starting to curl up. Hard to watch Kevin and Tucker work day and night, day and night, day and night. And there's been a few showers that have hit here at the house, but they skirt right around the cornfield. Very backfield got nothing. It did not get one drop of moisture. What about on the backfield?
I don't think it's going to make it because it ain't about 2 foot tall, 2 or 3 foot tall. It's nice.
We honestly didn't think we were even going to break even. Last night I came in from feeding the sheep and there's a row of these on the table and some were already peeled off, and I said, "Is that from your field?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I said, "Is it from the back part of the field?" And I know I cry over everything. I'm sorry. This is happy tears. And he said, "Yeah, it's from the back part of the field that never got a drop of rain." Look at this. That corn didn't even get rain when it was forming. And I know y'all have prayed so hard. You prayed so hard we would get rain. But it wouldn't be the same miracle had it gotten rain, because the miracle, a true miracle, is when something could not have possibly existed unless you knew that God did it. There's no scientific reason for this corn to exist.
Good Monday morning to each and every one of you. Miracles happen around us all the time. The problem is that people don't recognize these miracles when they happen. It's only at a later time that a realization will come to them that there was definitely a spiritual connection either to the earth or to an animal or to a person that presented our Creator with the opportunity to do His work. It's an amazing thing. Hey, Don, good to see you in chat, brother. It's don't see you much. I know you're working your butt off and everything. So, but it's great to see you, brother. Great to see you. And that's who Just Be Cool is. It's lots of things going on all around the country. Well, all around the world, really. We watched the biggest storytelling of our lifetime unfolding at the Paris Olympics. And we have seen the retaliation of the Lord working. When you have an opening ceremony like that, and then the entire city of Paris has a blackout, except for the Basilica of all places, the Basilica was the only thing left lit. Every other light in Paris was gone except for emergency floodlights. Everyone. They were in boats traveling up that channel there to enter. That was part of their thing. They had all the teams in boats and stuff, I guess. And I haven't watched it. I don't want to watch it. I haven't watched the Olympics since 2012. Seeing the fiasco that went on with that storytelling at the beginning of that, and then we saw it again a few years later. Each Olympics, it appears to get more prevalent. They're basically telling us exactly what they want to do to us and everything else. So although athletes are important, for schooling and things like that, people's athletic abilities and everything is, that's they have them. That's great. I have a brother who, we didn't always get along, but I'll tell you one thing. I admired him for his way to play basketball. And he played baseball. He played baseball all the way up until his, he was playing in his 50s. The last I knew, he was playing in his 50s. I don't know if he's still playing. More than likely, he probably is. Matter of fact, I actually just messaged him last night for the first time in about a year, asking him if he saw what happened in Providence, Rhode Island, or in Squamicut Beach, Rhode Island. And he just actually messaged me back here at the beginning of the podcast, telling me, yeah, he saw it. And I was just like, crazy, so many signs. And I'm going to show you what happened at Musquamaquit Beach. And I know Musquamaquit Beach so well. I've played every club on, and I've played and performed at every club on Musquamaquit Beach. And most of the clubs and hotels that have bars in them, going from the Westerly, Rhode Island, all the way to the Musquamaquit Beach area. There's a very long track of semi like hotels, but mostly, really, really nice places that, people would stay at and stuff. And whether it was with a band or doing music on my own and stuff, I enjoyed that area. And I'll show you guys in a little bit what ended up happening there. So to see that happening in that area was kind of interesting because because of the fact that I worked in that area, for so many years and stuff. It just kind of blew my mind that, Musquamaquit Beach, Yeah, you'll see in a little bit here. We'll get to that. I want to start off with this one here. The new Area 51. Here we go. United Airlines crew and passengers vomiting due to a biohazard from a patient or from a passenger, and flight diverted to Dulles as UA 2477. It's a Boeing this afternoon. And I want you guys to listen to this announcement to the tower that they're requesting an emergency landing. Here we go.
And I talked to the crew, and it sounds like it's quite bad back there. It's still really bad. The crew is vomiting, and passengers all around are asking for masks. Pardon me. Etc. And it sounds like I think 20-minute flight to Cleveland is probably the better option instead of going an hour and 40 to straight ahead to Boston, especially with it kind of being a biohazard. I think we need to probably get this plane on the ground ASAP.
I'm sorry. I muted myself because I wanted to make sure the radio wasn't feeding back through my computer. But so they're saying that this biohazard was from a patient, or I mean a passenger. Okay. Now the question that I have is, number one, was he an illegal or was he an American? Okay. Um, and then my second question is, how did he get the biohazard onto the plane? Okay. I mean, we see illegals bypassing checkpoints, getting onto planes all over the country, not having to go through the standard checks and protocols that every American has to go through, including body searches and cavity searches. Okay. But these people are just allowed to walk onto the plane. So how did this biohazard get on the plane? And what exactly was the biohazard? For a plane to have to land an hour and a half early from its scheduled arrival time in Boston and land in Cleveland, Ohio instead, what exactly was the biohazard? And there hasn't been anything released on it as so far, this is crazy. This is crazy, that this kind of thing is going on. All right. Ben Berquam says ran into one of those guys at CNN and MSNBC called scary MAGA white supremacists. Here we go. Ben Berquam.
Found a white supremacist in the airport.
I'm a neo-Nazi, and they caught me. They caught me, you know what I'm saying? Also, I'm not black, so it doesn't really matter, you know what I'm saying?
Hold on. Yeah, it doesn't rub off.
Look at this part. Look at this part.
It doesn't rub off.
See, it's already happening. It's already happening.
White hands.
White hands.
White hands.
That's what happens, man. That's what happens.
That's all right. That's the good part.
It's okay. You know what I'm saying? You don't hear me complaining at the end of the day. It's all good.
I love your hat, too. 0% liberal.
Sometimes you just got to remind people.
Yeah.
The party that has common sense and the party that does not.
So I take it you're not voting for Kamala.
Well,
what would it take? Can you imagine voting for this witch?
No, I can't. That would be absolutely awful for our country, for the state of identity politics. I'm not going to play this identity politic game with this woman called Kamala Harris. That's not really working. I mean, let's be real, you know.
Yeah.
So I mean, either way, I look at qualifications.
Yeah.
I look at what you have
Whoa,
done.
whoa, like content of character. Who else? Somebody else said something
That's
like
one
that.
guy.
There's one guy.
Martin Luther King
something,
Jr.,
something.
Content of a person's character over color of skin.
Yeah.
I'm gonna worry about the content of her
How
character.
is it 70 years later and we're still 60 years later and we're still
we haven't learned
doing this stupid game?
Yeah, but the left wants us to play that.
That's it.
They want us to be Wisconsin.
We don't play it, baby.
No, we don't.
MAGA don't play.
Let go. That's what I'm talking about.
Let's
go,
baby.
Make America great again one more time.
Amen.
Let's go.
MAGA Hulk in the airport, heading out.
Hey.
Yeah, it looks like they were a little too happy. It was almost like they got into my stash or something. I'm curious about this. So last week I showed you guys a video of the Asian community in a particular section of Manhattan they were freaking out because they were building another shelter. They were taking a perfectly good building, evacuated the current residents, told them that they had to move on, and then went in and redid the inside of the building, and now they're moving all the immigrants in there. Well, turns out that yesterday thousands came from Brooklyn to Manhattan to protest the migrant shelters invading their neighborhoods. Coming to show support. And this is great. The entire Asian community of New York is out in force saying enough is enough. And I think that's great. Their entire, community from two boroughs coming together and standing together to achieve one, a common goal. And you notice they're not walking down the street shouting and things like that. They got whistles, and then they have sticks that they beat on their signs with. They just get a rhythm going. But they're not shouting, they're not being vulgar, they're not chanting certain slogans or anything like that. Very peaceful, very quiet. Okay, moving through, but everybody's standing back and watching them and seeing them and supporting them, and I think that that's great. We need to have more of that. We need to have much more of that. All right, this is worth a listen, and this lady here, she was a Masonic victim, and I watched her story, and I watched it back like 3 different times, looking and thinking about the organizations that she's going to talk about in this video. I know people who their life goal was to become members of particular organizations that worked with children and everything else. When they were teenagers, and young, that was their dream, was to like be a Shriner and stuff like that. And I think that this is very interesting, and I wanted to make sure that I shared it with you guys. Here we go.
I really want to post this today because I'm a little annoyed. I somehow had a page show up on my FYI this morning where this gentleman was spreading lies, misinformation about the Masonic Lodge. And when I piped in and gave him the truth, he blocked me off. Here's the reality, folks. In order to be a Shriner, you have to be a 32nd or 33 degree Mason, okay? My father, my grandfather, and my great-grandfather were all 33 degree Masons. Let me start off by saying my grandfather and great-grandfather do not fall into this category. But my father and every Mason I've met since then falls into the category I'm going to talk about. Along with my grandmother, who was an Eastern Star, who falls into this category as well, okay? Everything that I have been through, everything that I have seen, everyone I have interacted with, every book from the Masonic Lodge I've ever read, all their little secret books I have, because my dad was killed in 2008. So I have a lot of stuff that Probably shouldn't have, but I have it, and I'm going to keep it. Okay? They actually do not believe in God. They worship Satan. And these people that are on, they're trying to tell you that that's not true. It's 100% true. Do your research. Also, they monster animals. They monster children.
She's talking about molest.
They abuse their women and children. They're alcoholics. They're cheaters. They're demonic. Okay? I know that because I'm a victim of that since I was at the age of 3. My dad was a Shriner clown. My dad was very prominent in the West Coast Shriners and the Masonic Lodge. My grandmother was an Eastern Star, very much involved in the same thing. They tried to indoctrinate me by putting me in Job's Daughters. That didn't work. So they tried to indoctrinate me by putting me in the Rainbow Girls. That didn't work. They tried to indoctrinate me by getting me to date a D-Malay boy. That didn't work. I wasn't falling for any of this. I'd already been through all of the abuse, the mistreatment, and all of the rest of it. I have seen it all. My dad was murdered in 2008. And at his funeral was half Masonic, half military. I have never seen anything in my life that was more disgusting than the Masonic service. Talking about how pure and amazing and wonderful this person was. Really? When everyone that was there that did the service knows my father and knows what he did to me and knows the kind of person he is and the kind of person they are, because they're doing the same thing. Every one of them. There wasn't one of them that was there that doesn't have a family member that's had the same outcries that I have. So you can block me off of your page. I don't really care. You could block me off your lives. I really don't care about that either, because I'm going to always speak the truth. I am a victim of the Masonic Lodge. I am a victim of the Shriner Clowns. I am a victim of the Masons. And they are satanic. They are horrible people. And they hurt their family and their children. And if you don't like what I'm saying, that's fine. I don't care. I got the receipts. All of them. So block me off your page. Tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. And you know what? I could tell you who my father is. And I could tell you the 3 lodges that are involved. And I could tell you the 250 Masons that are involved. But you know what? Believe what you choose to believe. But the Masonic Lodge is satanic. They have satanic rituals. And their families are victims. I said what I said. Have a good day.
I said what I said. That's what she said. I said what I said. And she meant it too. All right. So, it appears that the Romanian government is having a cow because Andrew Tate and his brother decided to, this is what I'm just going to show you what they did. This is what they did.
Guys, I believe most of you are Christians. I'm a Muslim, yes? This is Romania, supposed to be the most Christian country in Europe. You cannot allow them to desecrate something as important as the Last Supper with transsexuals and little children, pedophilia. There has to be a point you stand up for your beliefs. If you have something in life and you don't stand up for it, it will not last. If you have a house, you don't maintain it, it will fall down. Business, you don't work, it's gone. Relationship, you don't take care of her, she'll leave you. It's the same with religion. If you Christians don't start standing up for things, when they mock you publicly and openly, you'll have no religion left. It doesn't matter, it's a matter of time. Especially now, Romania and all these other countries have opened the border. Millions of people who come here are not Christian. And if you don't say, this is a Christian country and we respect Christianity, they won't respect it either. It's the end. And it's the man's job. It's the job of men to defend things. This is what a man is supposed to do. It's man and woman for a reason, but the man is a fighter. The men have to stand up and fight against these things. Guys, this is supposed to be the most Christian country in Europe. When they try this crap again, I expect to see you all at the next embassy, wherever it is. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this is and this is the thing, you know, like him or hate him doesn't matter to me. Okay. You know, but not that I'm aware of, Larry. Not that I'm aware. Crazy Cajun lady, no, not yet. It's we had no mail yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday, but I haven't been up to the mailbox yet today. I will look as soon as I get up there. So because he stood out there outside the French embassy in Romania, and this is the thing is that he was standing up because the European Union, which is all the countries that are all associated in the European Union, each of them gave taxpayer dollars to pay for the ceremonies. Okay. Now, I never knew that he was a Muslim. Okay. But that guy who is a Muslim just stood up for Christ. You heard what I said, right? He was standing up defending Christ, defending the importance of the Last Supper. A Muslim standing up for Christian values. Crazy. You know, it's and he's right when he says that men are the protectors. You are the defenders of your family. You are the defenders of your community, not the women, the men. The roles have been swapped around because of all of these, you know, all of these generations of filth and liberalism and all this other stuff being invoked. So much of it, you know. So this is what ended up happening afterwards.
Are you for sure you want to do this? Because Bogdan just called me and he said you're probably going to get arrested and locked up for another 30 days because you didn't announce the protest before that. So they're going to open you a new file and you're going to get arrested for 30 days, including us, baby.
Are you aware that Christ is king and he will not be mocked?
Yes.
You're aware?
We have to do that, yeah.
So what the fuck are you here for? Talking
But
about
I just want you guys to know the consequences of the actions that we're going to have to do, yeah.
Fucking looking forward to another stint in jail. Christ is king, Alex.
Do you know the law in Romania? Some people are together more than, I don't know, 5 person.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're just standing outside peacefully. We're not trying to cause any trouble. We're not going to touch the building. We're not crazy. Yeah. We just think that, especially in Romania, the most Christian country, I'm sure Jesus is watching all of us now. He's watching you also. It's easy to say, I just do my job, but also some things are more important than just doing a job. God is the most important thing in the world. He's the true judge. And to sit here and let France mock the country, mock your religion, make fun of every single thing you feel holy. This is the Last Supper. This is everything holy about Christianity. And we say absolutely nothing about it and say, oh, you cannot even complain. What are we doing wrong by saying that this is disgusting? This is not art.
What's very important to remember is that the European Union gave 100 million euros for France to do this Olympics. So they took your tax money,
they took your
tax money, and they're making fun of Jesus Christ.
Okay.
It's our money, you know. As Romanian taxpayers, they're using our money to do this.
There's no need. The worst thing is this has nothing to do with sports, friend. This has nothing to do with sports. They did this on purpose because they are Satanists. Because they hate God, they hate Jesus, they want to corrupt your children. LGBT, they cannot have their own children, the gay people. They need your kids. When your kid goes to school and learns these things, you're going to be very angry that not enough people stood up and said that this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable to teach children these things. It's unacceptable to put it on the Olympics. We're not here to hurt anybody. But if nobody stands up, I'm a Muslim. I'm not even Christian. As a Muslim, I show more respect for Jesus Christ than most Christians. Every Christian in Romania should be outside here right now saying that this is unacceptable. This is the land of God. There's churches everywhere. This is the most Christian country in Europe. And here we are allowing them to mock the Last Supper. Only yesterday, mocking it on TV, making fun of you,
with our
laughing
money.
with our money, and nothing happens. And we're the bad guys for saying someone must show that this is wrong. We're not the bad guys. We're the only people who will be looked at in history who cared. Because soon, eventually, when God is gone from society, when Christianity has disappeared from society, and we live in a world now where you have unlimited migrants coming who don't care, don't respect the country anymore, they're going to turn up. LGBT will try to take your children. Everyone will say, where did God go? Well, when God was here, the people who fight for God, you put him in trouble with the police.
Sorry, 1 second. I need your ID, please, and also your.
I don't have ID.
I have my ID.
You can't have my ID. I don't have passport.
I have an ID.
Well, my name is Andrew Tate.
Hello, sir.
Hey, bro. Hey.
Your birth date and
Sorry, take your money.
Sorry, bro. Sorry.
No problem.
Here's my ID. Tristan Tate's my
Thanks.
No problem.
But I think, truthfully, guys, as Christians yourselves, you should understand what we're doing.
The French shouldn't have done this with European Union money.
There's no reason.
It's very wrong.
They wouldn't. You know what's crazy?
your ID, please.
I don't have any ID with me.
You.
France is a Christian country, right? But
Should
they didn't do this to Islam.
Your ID, please.
They would not mock Islam like this. They
Or
only mock
Judaism.
Christianity. True or false? I think it's absolutely disgusting. This is the Last Supper of Jesus Christ. Romania is supposed to be the most Christian country in Europe. I don't know why Christians completely lost their backbone now. And you're going to allow your most sacred periods of history to be mocked openly. And nobody's going to do anything besides say, oh, the law says we need to put you in jail for telling the truth about God. Is this who the Christians of Romania have become? I think this is disgusting. I don't think this is good. And I don't think Jesus will smile upon this. It's very important that we show the French this is unacceptable. There's no reason for it. It has nothing to do with sports. It's not even sport related. It has nothing to do with dedication, admiration, any of the things the Olympics are about. This is done on purpose to mock Christians. This is done on purpose to show Christians that they're weak. This is done on purpose to show them make fun of you, and nobody will do anything. That's what this is. These are Satanists who are mocking Christians.
I will let the French know on the news and stuff that we are unhappy with this, and they shouldn't
I don't
use
know why
our
other
money as
Christians
Romanians.
are upset.
I pay taxes in Romania. You pay taxes, bro. They can't do this with our money.
This
It's disgusting.
And they're doing this knowing that the Christians will not react. France is a Christian country. You know? People don't seem to understand. Let me tell you guys, I'm American, yeah? I'm American. I'm from a country that has lost God. When you lose God in a society, you know what happens? Your son tries to become a girl. They teach this to him at 3 years old in the school. And you know what happens if you tell the teacher not to teach him this? People like you in blue uniforms come and arrest you. You're the bad guy for trying to protect your own children. That's what's going to happen when they remove God from society. You're going to end up arguing with your own children. You're going to end up arguing with your own children about what gender they are when you remove God from society. And we're sitting here saying that Romania is a beautiful country with beautiful people, and the thing that makes it beautiful is you feel God in the air here. This is the most beautiful thing about Romania. And you think you can follow the West for the money? The American government gives you dollars and the EU gives you euros, so you open your borders to people who have no business to be in Romania in the first place, and they turn up and everyone throws God away, and everyone's just going to sit in Romania, and Romania is going to stay the same. It's going to change, and the children are going to suffer. Anyone who believes in man, woman, marriage, child, and God should be here as well, as upset as we are. There's no need for this. This is absolute desecration of Jesus Christ for no possible reason other than to mock the fact that Christians have become weak. That's all this is. I say this as a Muslim man because we respect Jesus Christ the same. They're doing it to you openly, and everybody seems to think, oh, it's okay. It'll just leave it. It'll be fine. It will not be fine. Christians would never tolerate this 20 years ago.
Hold on. Do you pay taxes? You pay taxes. $100 million of European Union money went to fund this Olympic Games. Your money, your tax money. Cameraman, your tax money. Police officers, your tax money. They
Your
used
money to mock Jesus Christ.
Our God. That's not okay. $100 million of European Union money went into this show. This looks good. You like it?
Ask me a question. I'll answer it. I think that this is the only true judge holding society together. They apologized. No, they didn't apologize. They didn't. Firstly, they're not sorry. This was signed off on. They saw this and they practiced this and they spent money on this and they agreed this and they did not, and they signed off on this and they put it on the news and they put it all over the TV. They knew exactly what they were doing. It's very easy to say sorry afterwards and pretend. They're not sorry for this. And the reason they're doing this, everyone at home, I want you to understand something. They are coming for your children. They are open about this. They cannot have their own kids. They need yours. That's why every single thing they can possibly turn gay, they're turning gay. I have nothing against a gay man. If you want to be gay, fine. But it's not your job to tell my children how to act. It's not your job to infiltrate the schools. It's not your job to infiltrate Netflix. It's not your job to hijack the Olympic ceremony. It's not your job to come along and make every single cultural event gay. This has nothing to do with homosexuality. It's about sports. It has nothing to do with any sexual orientation at all. This is deliberate. And the reason I have legal troubles in America, here in Romania, is because the American government have instructed the Romanians to try and damage me. And there's still people at home in Romania who don't understand. When you speak against the devil and you speak against Satan, they find some prosecutor and they give him enough money and they bribe him to try and ruin your life. That's all that happens. It's very simple how this world works. And the Satanists are in charge right now. And unless the people at home make it clear that we know what is going on, it's going to continue down this path. You're going to end up with more vaccines, more injections, more locking in your house. Your children will be taught more garbage. You'll lose your borders. You'll lose your national sovereignty. You'll lose your religion. You'll lose absolutely everything. You'll be left with nothing. And when you're left with nothing, you'll be sitting there saying, why didn't we resist? Well, now's the time to stand up and say you can't mock Jesus Christ. And nobody's doing anything. It takes a Muslim man to stand out here. I don't think this whole interview should be about me. I don't know where all the Christians are. They should be ashamed of themselves. They should be ashamed of themselves that they allowed this to happen. And everyone stands around and says, oh, it's okay. And then the Christian men of Romania, these Vanda Marino, want to put me in jail. Whose side are we on? There's a child right here. They have a child next to transsexuals. Anyone who understands Satanism, I want you guys to actually do some research on the satanic religion. The satanic religion makes it very clear that they tell you what they're going to do. It's important for them that they tell you what they're going to do. They don't try and trick you or deceive you. If I give you a poison apple and you eat it, I murdered you. But if I say this is a poison apple and you eat it, it was your decision. Karmic retributions. This is very important in Satanism. They must tell you what they're going to do before they do it. This is what they believe in. They have a transgender next to children on the Olympics. Right here. They're telling you what they're going to do. They told you what they were going to do with COVID. 99.9% survival rate. It won't hurt you. We're going to lock you in your house. On purpose. All of this is done on purpose. They're telling you exactly what's going to happen. They're coming for your kids. They're coming for all your institutions. There's nothing cultural left now. They haven't infiltrated. Do you really want this? Does anyone at home vote for this? Did anyone at home ask for this? Does this represent sports or France at all? Or Europe? Or Europe? This is disgusting. Am I right? It's disgusting. It's disgusting.
There are Christians all over the world, in China, Australia, South America, who are looking at Europe now because the Olympic opening ceremony is supposed to be a celebration of sports, culture, unity. They're looking at Europe. Okay, what's France going to do for the opening Olympic Games? This. And Romanians paid for it. Every single European Union member state paid for this.
The Satanists do anything they can to push their narrative, and the Christians don't care enough to come outside on a sunny Sunday afternoon. It's not even raining. You know, it's not even raining. What do you have to do? Come out in the sunshine and stand for 10 minutes and say, leave God alone? And they're busy? They're tired? If you don't care enough to protect your God at that level, then how long do you expect to have a religion or a society left? This is why the Christian West is failing. The whole idea of Christianity in the West is mocked now. It doesn't even exist anymore. Because they've become decadent, my friend. Their lives have been too easy for too long. They believe that it's all going to work out fine in the end. That's not how the world works. You know? And some things are bigger than yourself. My mission is bigger than myself. When I started speaking about the issues I did, I knew I would get police custody. And here I am again. Some things are bigger than yourself. I have all the money in the world. I don't give a shit about money and cars and houses. I have these things. What's important is knowing you did the right thing before God. This is what allows you to sleep well at night. I'll sleep just fine in jail if they put me in jail. I'll sleep just fine. I don't know how the men at home who call themselves Christian, when they're trying to brainwash your children into having sex changes, can sleep. Because I'll sleep in jail. You're going to be at home, but how are you sleeping? I'm not here to cause any trouble. I'm not here to damage any buildings. I'm not here to riot. I'm here to make it clear that if you're going to insult Jesus Christ, there's going to be a proportion of the population, a contingent of the populace who is unhappy with that and finds that horrible. And I think that's a pretty fair thing to do in a democratic, free country like Romania, the most Christian country in Europe, to stand up and say, don't mock Jesus Christ. Is that wrong?
You don't want to join us? If you get fines, I will pay them myself.
Go to jail for Jesus.
Yeah. If you get fined, I will pay the fine.
Well, I don't want to close it. I don't want to
No,
make trouble.
they have to stay there.
Okay, sorry. The police said you have to stay there. I apologize. Understand. Sorry, bro. Tired of these faggots. I've had enough. I've had enough of them. Chop your dick off. Just do it in silence, not on my TV screen. We'll leave. We made our point. We're unhappy. We don't make it. Thank you. Go. God bless you. Christos a enviado. I've had enough of their garbage. It's about time people start standing up and doing something. It's about time people started enforcing respect upon their beliefs. It is Christianity, even as a Muslim, I admit, it's Christianity that built the Western world. And if you want to live in a Western society, Christianity must be respected. It's as simple as that. The police are trying to do their jobs, obviously. Respect to the police officers, their tax money paid for this abomination. We just came here to let the French know that we're extremely unhappy how they spent our European Union money. I hope you're all as unhappy as I am. And thanks for coming out. And I think we made our point. Take your time, guys. Guys, I believe most of you are Christians. I'm a Muslim. Yes, this is Romania, it's supposed to be the most Christian country in Europe. You cannot allow them to desecrate something as important as the Last Supper with transsexuals and little children, pedophilia. There has to be a point you stand up for your beliefs. If you have something in life and you don't stand up for it, it will not last. If you have a house, you don't maintain it, it will fall down. Business, you don't work, it's gone. Relationship, you don't take care of her, she'll leave you. It's the same with religion. If you Christians don't start standing up for things, when they mock you publicly and openly, you'll have no religion left. It doesn't matter, it's a matter of time. Especially now, Romania and all these other countries have opened the border. Millions of people who come here are not Christian. And if you don't say, this is a Christian country and we respect Christianity, they won't respect it either. It's the end. And it's the man's job. It's the job of men to defend things. This is what a man is supposed to do. It's man and woman for a reason, but the man is a fighter. The men have to stand up and fight against these things. Guys, this is supposed to be the most Christian country in Europe. When they try this crap again, I expect to see you all at the next embassy, wherever it is. Thank you, guys.
All right. Yep. Jesus will not be mocked. All right. Carly Bonet.
What happened Thursday? CrowdStrike blackouts. Right. That was intentional. That was supposed to be the full shutdown. Right. But because Donald Trump did not die, they had to pull the plug on that.
What you're saying is they pulled the plug on the total shutdown, and it was too late for them to stop the entire thing because it was all planned ahead of time.
Already put in place.
And they utilized that shutdown to erase evidence of who was responsible for this. The plan was erase the evidence of who did it.
Right.
Then we blame it on Iran. We go to war with Iran. Right. And then we say, MAGA guys, they killed your hero. Let's unite as Americans and let's go get them. And their plan was that all of us, quote unquote, deplorables would say, yeah, kill them. And then we would go over there and fight another war with another generation of our strongest men and get them killed so that we could relieve ourselves again of the exact people who are most likely to rebel against this nonsense.
Yep. All right. Moving along. Just in, crowd goes absolutely nuts after Donald Trump vows to fire SEC Chairman Gary Gensler. Here we go.
The moment I'm sworn in, the persecution stops and the weaponization ends against your industry. And as long as I'm in the Oval Office, Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, do you remember? Yes, I'm an Indian. Yes, she said, I'm an Indian. Why are you an Indian? You don't look like an Indian. No, my mother told me I have high cheekbones. Oh, that's why she was an Indian. So I named her Pocahontas. Elizabeth Warren and her goons, and she's very nasty to you. She hates your people. She hates everything about you. Will keep their hands off Bitcoin. They're going to keep their hands off crypto. They're going to let it grow. We're going to let it grow. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler and appoint a new SEC chairman. I didn't know he was that unpopular. Wow. I didn't know he was that unpopular. Let me say it again. On day one, I will fire Gary Gensler. Whoa. And we'll appoint a new SEC chairman who believes America should build the future, not block the future, which is what they're doing.
Yep. Yeah. Gary Gensler on his way out the door. Chuck Schumer. Oh, boy. Chuckles. Here's a perfect example of a pedophile working in the Senate for his own purposes.
The Supreme Court is a morass. First, it's an ethical morass. The idea that wealthy individuals, many of them right-wing, can both.
Well, first off, I want to point out that the Supreme Court might be a little bit morass, but Chuck, you're all ass.
The Supreme Court is a morass. First, it's an ethical morass. The idea that wealthy individuals, many of them right-wing, can both pay for cases before the court and at the same time give justices gifts or trips is outrageous. And frankly, Chief Justice Roberts isn't doing enough to curb it. But it's a morass in even a worse way. This is a MAGA right-wing court. It's already taken away the right to choose. It could very well go further on that. I fear it will. It's siding with the wealthiest of individuals and the powerful interests over the average working family. And it even threatens democracy when it says that a president can get immunity even for certain acts in the presidency. So this court is just a morass, both ethically and substantively. The Supreme Court is a morass. First, it's
I want to do something here. I want to ask Grok a question. Grok, we got a question for you. Grok, how many members of the Congress and Senate are dual citizens of Israel? Let's see if Grok's got an answer. Oh, yeah. Oh, sorry, Grok. I messed up the question. I thought I hit the B. Let me go paste. Members of the United States. I didn't think of that. I should have added that, huh? Congress and Senate are dual citizens of Israel. Here we go. Well, it seems that there's a bit of a mix-up in the rumor mill. According to the information provided, there's no evidence to suggest that any members of Congress or Senate hold dual citizenship with Israel. So the answer to your question is big fat zero. No dual citizens here, folks. The fact that many U.S. congressmen have dual citizenship with Israel should be a major concern. You cannot have allegiance to two different. So, yeah, that's in fun mode, regular mode. Let's ask that question again in regular mode instead of fun mode and see if we get a different answer. I'm just curious. Yeah. There's got to be a way to find to look it up and find out. There has to be a way to for us to be able to look it up. I thought that this was interesting. The first and the last thing that you do in your life, the very first thing you did when you were born, and the very last thing you do when you die is speak the name of our Creator.
How do you pronounce YHWH when there is no vowels? To say it correctly, you don't use your tongue and you can't close your lips. So his name imitates the natural act of breathing as you inhale and exhale. So this is how YHWH sounds like. Can you imagine the first word you have ever spoken when you came out of your mother's womb was the personal name of God? And the last word you ever speak in this life, the last breath you will take on your deathbed, will be the name of God. You will leave this earth when his name no longer fills your lungs. Imagine when you are sad and you sigh heavily, you are calling out his name. When your heart is broken and you don't know what else to say, and all you can do is to sob in tears and gasp for breaths, you're calling out his name.
Yeah. Interesting, huh? Yeah. I mean, therefore I am. Says boom. Boom.
Years ago, and Trump's going to strip all your rights as a woman, and we don't want to hear shit in 2027 about how you regret voting for him. No, I regret voting for Obama and working for him for free. Then I still went against my better judgment and helped Hillary Clinton campaign, which really put me on the Trump train for this election. So no, I doubt I'll regret it, especially if the economics improve, because if the economics improve, I think we'll see more black men marrying black women again because they can afford to take care of a family more. Because one of the biggest problems I saw in black relationships, from my own experience, was the economics. Everybody wants to say, oh, black men aren't stepping up to the plate. I disagree. Black men need more opportunities, and Trump is willing to invest in our businesses. So hopefully, I don't even care about any of the stuff you're talking about a woman this, what, can I not kill a baby? Well, if I have a strong enough man in my life, he wouldn't want me to go to an abortion clinic. So, there's that. So I hope you get a good business.
All right. Real quick, Sandy asked if this feed is on Rumble. No, it is not on Rumble. I can only afford to broadcast to a couple of platforms right now. So I broadcast to X, Facebook, and YouTube currently. The only time we broadcast to Rumble is when Dave is on the channel with me. Then we broadcast to his Rumble. Yeah. All right. Chaos Coordinator says eyes to see, ears to hear.
This is Kevin Hall with the word of the week at genshite.com. And this is a really special word. It's kind of cool to say. It's sapere vedere. Da Vinci was asked, how do you see things in the future? He saw things 400 or 500 years ahead of his time. And he said sapere vedere. And it means knowing how to see. Knowing how to see helps you understand that the eye is the window to the soul. And our eyes are just really the spectacles, but we really see clearly with our heart. And I would encourage each of you, as you live into sapere vedere, never let your mind talk your heart out of what it knows to be true. And also when you think of sapere vedere, instead of saying, well, I'll cross that bridge when I get there, you say, I'll see that bridge before I even get there, and then I'll cross that bridge. Some people say seeing is believing. Superior Videre teaches that believing is seeing. If I can have faith in faith itself, if I can see things just a little bit differently. Wayne Dyer used to quote that when we change the way we look at things, the things we look at change. And Superior Videre is a combination of hindsight, what's behind us, foresight, what's ahead of us, and insight, that's what happens right now. Superior Videre is focused on that insight that comes in a flash when we get truth bumps and goosebumps, and we know that something rings true and we should act on it right then. That's when we have true vision. And great leaders, great pathfinders, great influencers, they see things just a little bit differently. And they do things unbelievably differently because of how they see. They don't focus all of their time in the past. They learn from it. And they don't focus all of their time in the future. They yearn for that. But they get present and focus on the precious present right now. What is my insight for right now? That daily reflection, that daily meditation time, which Lance does so well here at genshite.com, gives you an opportunity to see things like you've never seen them before.
Yep. All right, moving on. The final act is underway.
You know, we've been telling you for about 3 months now, maybe a little longer, that the end is not for everyone. But it is victory in Christ that will be for everyone. We let you know that it would be like a near-death experience. But to remember, 95% or more of that near-death experience isn't even real. It's to show you the players. It's to show you the truth about what they do behind your back, what they've always done behind your back, and how and who and why and when and what parts of columns of Babylon they control. At this point, you should be finally figuring out that it's the majority of your life and everything involved in it. But this is why it's so important for you to understand that God has given you all very many, many blessings and will continue because He loves each of you. But that He also is expecting you, as you are, to take a stand for the most innocent and precious, the children and the elderly, Christ's most precious. So with that being said, the final act is underway. This part is very, very important because as you will see as the things break down, you'll discover that all the upper hand top is already gone. They put fake players in place so that the middle ground could be seen and visible. The swamp runs deep, all the way to probably where you live as well. Remember, these folks think that Biden, Kamala, Mike Pence, that they're all still there. But they're not. That way, you brothers and sisters could see them for who they are. Payne's Angels 215, where we go one, we got them all.
All right. Real quick, Mary Jane. I have a Hawks Mustard Seeds channel on Rumble, but I do not podcast to that. I'm only podcasting to YouTube, Facebook, and X. So, yeah, affordability plays a big part in that. I don't bring in enough to pay for all these different platforms and stuff to podcast to. So it's Hawks Mustard Seeds 25 on YouTube, and there is quite a large chat over here, about 200 and we got 247 on the YouTube side right now. We got 62 on the X side and 25 on the Facebook side. And when you look for Hawks Mustard Seeds on YouTube, you've got to make it all one word. It's so it looks like this. All one word, and you can find us there. And like I said, we got almost 250 people on the YouTube side watching right now. A lot of people in chat having conversations, talking about the content that we're sharing and everything else. So, all right. Why did they remove this from the King James Bible? Here we go.
I was taught that the King James Version was the first English version of the Bible. First version translated into English. Why? As a matter of fact, way before the King James, the Geneva Bible was out. King James banned the Geneva Bible. And you say, wait a minute, if the Geneva Bible is such a good book, why was it banned? Well, let me tell you why it was banned. First of all, in any of this stuff that I've got, I'm more than willing to let you take a look at. This is a little pamphlet of the instructions to the translators. And if you see this, you understand real quick what's going on. You start to understand some of the things that are going on with it. And part of the thing is, let me just give you one quote out of the Geneva of 1591. Ephesians 6:11-12. See if you can figure out anything that might cause a king not to want to have this out. Put on the whole armor of God, that you may abide to stand against the assaults of the devil. For we wrestle not only against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers. Sounds pretty familiar so far, right? And against worldly governors, who are the princes of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness, which are in the high places. Now that basically says the governments are all evil. Can you understand why they would want to get rid of something like that? Well, they in fact did. And as a matter of fact, if you read the instructions, you find out that they left out a lot of things. The true meaning of baptism, the true meaning of what the church is. And the reason why they did it is they wanted to be able to control the people. They wanted to say that the government is divinely empowered and that the church you got to listen to. And of course, he controlled the church. 1910 talks about some of the real purposes of the King James Version, and it's not what you were taught in school or not what you were taught most other places. So for those reasons, the King James Bible, and of course the following editions, there's a book called, by the way, New Age Bible Versions, and it's by Gail Rippliger. And it talks about 65,000 plus changes in the King James versions to some of the New Age versions. There's 20,000 changes from the Geneva to the King James. So you kind of get the idea that they're trying to change everything around so it means something totally different than what it originally meant. Let's talk about the pre-Revolutionary War. The Rothschilds. Their goal was to control the world through controlling money. Very simple philosophy. I don't care who the government is. Let me control the money and I will control the country. And they did exactly just that. Their plan was to finance both sides of the wars. They did that. They took over the Bank of England by financing the Napoleonic Wars and deciding who was going to win. They financed both sides of the war between the states. They financed both sides of most wars. I was taught that the King James Version was first.
It's kind of interesting when you think about it, because, I've been talking about this for years, that I got rid of my King James Bible because of the fact that No, that was over on X, Lisa, and they're here. They're typing
I
in
was
chat
talking.
now. Now somebody did ask me to share this Andrew Tate video, and I forgot to do that. So I'm gonna do that now. Give me a second to get back to where I was, so I don't mess up my order here. And here is the link for that. I'm sorry, I forgot all about that. I did see it when you typed it in. I just forgot about it. I do that sometimes. Yeah. What time is it? It's 12:07. Okay. All right. Mario Knopfel says, Elon, you can cut staff if you give up activism and censorship. What?
How do you run the company with only 20% of the staff?
It turns out you don't need that many people to run Twitter.
But 80%? That's a lot.
Yes. If you're not trying to run some sort of glorified activist organization and you're not care that much about censorship, then you can really let go of a lot of people, it turns out.
And he's right. You can get rid of a lot of people. You can save your company a lot of money. But the fact of the matter is censorship is becoming a very, very big thing. And it's going to get bigger here over these next few months. The closer we get to the election, channels are going to disappear. YouTube, Facebook, so on and so forth. Because we got companies like big corporations like YouTube. And we've got Meta and all those that are going to do what they do, and we'll just keep making more channels and keep plugging along. I do have to get 26 and 27 made, but I need to raise enough to get another track phone in order to get those channels set up. And that's, let me tell you, I've gone through a lot of phone numbers. I've been censored and deplatformed over 100 times in 8 years. Over 100 times. I have gone through 43 phones that I have here. 43 phones in a box. Never put time on them or anything like that. Just the minutes that come with the phone. Just enough to get the channel started and everything, and all that. And once that's done, the phone gets turned off and thrown into the box. And we've got at least 2 more channels built up because that one number can give me 2 channels. So, it's a lot of, it's a lot. It's a lot, but I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep pushing along. I stay on YouTube and I stay on Facebook because we were told not to leave the battlefield under any circumstances. There's absolutely no reason whatsoever to leave the battlefield. Okay. The people that need to be awakened the most are where? Facebook, YouTube, TikTok. Those are the 3 platforms that need the absolute most attention and a place for people to come and begin to learn. That's why we're, what? Deadpool says, I'm locked out of Rumbles now. How did you get locked out of Rumble? Were you picking on Phil? Deadpool? Because the only people that I know that have been that have been kicked off a Rumble were picking on Phil. He was crying, and this is the thing, guys. We see so much today that we would not have seen 10 years ago or even 20 years ago. And the thing is it's what we do with what we find that really sets us apart from everybody else. Okay, because we're willing to listen to different perspectives, and we listen to different perspectives. But then we see the when I play a perspective that's totally against anything that we absolutely believe in, we have our reaction to that. Absolutely, we have that we have that instant remorse of, damn, I shouldn't have listened to that. But then what happens? A couple of weeks later, we end up seeing another video from the same person who, since they made that video, has become awakened. That have, basically had their mind changed because they actually did a little bit of research and found out that they were wrong. And I give a lot of props to those who do that. The ones who have, been one-sided about everything for so long, all of a sudden making this drastic change in their lives and seeing the truth for what it is instead of, and reality for what it is, instead of the illusion in which they've been living in. And that's part of it. Part of our world is illusion manifested in order for distraction. And it's up to us to discover the illusion and then to drop a whole bunch of truth bombs around it and share that. And I think that that's super important. So this is a very deep researcher who has had connections with an individual who actually went into the Grand Canyon and with the discoveries of what they found. And the individual that gave him all the information that he has ended up dying. And now that person has passed on, he can tell everybody what he learned. So let's take a listen.
The Smithson family and the history of the Smithsonian Institute is something that we never talk too much about. There's just incredible underground storage vaults in the Smithsonian Institute where they it's like I call it informational Area 51, where things that aren't quite fitting the normal pattern of what people want or told they need to know about are hidden away. One of the big things is this underground cavern system was uncovered in the bottom of the Grand Canyon. Now, let me just say that the archaeological history that we've been fed as we go through the public school system is so ludicrous, really. The Grand Canyon was actually not a small river carving it through millions of years. The fact is, with the Uinta Basin, all the inland ocean that was all part of that, something cataclysmic happened, fracturing of the rock around the time of 30 AD that caused a massive amount of water to go out over a short period of time and carve the Grand Canyon out. I want to say that there's plenty of evidence of that happening. It's some say it's revisionist history or an alternative reality, but no, it's just archaeologically and completely. And if you look at geography, it makes all the sense in the world. If you look at topographical maps, okay. So that said, we see the beginning of this in when Major Powell did his first expedition down the Grand Canyon. Everybody thought he was crazy as a loon. There's this one-armed major was lost his arm in the Civil War, coming down in the 1870s after the conclusion of the Civil War to basically map this great river. They thought he would never make it out. If you look at the Powell Museum there in Page, Arizona, there's little boats and they go over the cataracts and the massive amount of water. It was an amazing feat. to come down. But he survived, as we know. He had a Native American Navajo guide that basically took him down, not expecting to even know if he'd survived the trip. It was a massive leap of faith, really. So they explained this is in the congressional record because Powell wrote everything in his report to Congress, and he explains what he found looking up at this cave, which was quite a ways up from where the river was flowing in 1870s. And as the explanation went, he went up into it, was able to rock climb up to there's like a keyhole opening that was not natural. It was absolutely carved. And he went in and was shocked with what they found in there. Absolutely Egyptian artifacts galore inside. So he didn't have time, of course, to do a full-scale excavation, but in his report to Congress, he made mention of it. Well, that, of course, garnered the attention of the Smithson family, and the Smithsonian Institute sponsored a second trip through, this time loaded with photography equipment to document what was in there. This was a few years after the initial expedition. And so the Smithsonian Institute went in there and, my goodness, took all kinds of pictures. And instead of going on down the river, they actually hiked up to the top of the rim and went overland from there to map that out. Okay, that's part of the unknown history of the early expeditions of the Grand Canyon. So we fast forward from the 1870s when this information became public. It was kind of, the end of the 1800s, the early 1900s. The world goes to war, right? We have the Great War. At the conclusion of the Great War, a guy named G.E. Kincaid, who is an employee of the Smithsonian Institute, he's survives the Great War, comes in, and he's funded by Smithsonian to go back in and look for that lost cavern system. So Kincaid does that, goes in under the disguise of mineral exploration, prospecting, okay, and he locates the exact same Powell cave, goes in with his photography equipment, and brings out a massive amount of precious metal artifacts. Comes up over the top. He's so excited about what he's found, he makes a press release, and the local newspapers all front page headlines: amazing find in the Grand Canyon. News articles on my blog, which was all from, again, the Smithsonian Institute. Well, my blog was shut down and erased actually in December of 2019. Okay. But that particular blog post, Terry, got tens of thousands of hits. It was a lightning rod. A lot of people, oh, wow, this is fantastic information, Doc. I just post them. So the question that people ask me is, where'd you get these pictures? Well, I had he's now deceased, so I can talk about him now. A friend named Dr. Melvin Laney in Washington, D.C. had high-level security clearance, and he had full unfettered access to the Smithsonian's archives. He sent me this information tied into what I'm working in the property here in Utah. A whole other story for another time, but it tied in, most definitely ties in this story of G.E. Kincaid and the amazing discoveries at the bottom of the Grand Canyon. PowerPoint presentation to people who want to come and see this. I think it's interesting.
Smithsonian says, no, it never did happen, but you got into the actual archives. You got actual documentation.
It's an amazing, jaw-dropping story. Let me just give you some hints of what we're going to be showing. Massive amounts of mummies. And the big thing is, Terry, is there were thousands and thousands of panels of Egyptian hieroglyphics that have been interpreted. And what it tells the story of should rewrite all the world's history, frankly.
Huh.
Because it's none other than the biblical Joseph of Egypt and his history.
Wow.
Yeah, big time wow. It's exciting. And, well, even religionists are saying, well, that's a real stretch. Well, why? It proves the Bible and the story in Genesis of Joseph to be true, the coat of many colors being sold into Egypt. It answers the question, really. It was more than just a deal with Potiphar's wife that elevated Joseph to be the most powerful visionary in second only to the Pharaoh himself. It tells the story of how he ascended to and why he was able to bring all the grains and survive the famines that went on. It's all in the history of this cave in the bottom of the Grand Canyon. It's an amazing story.
Interesting, huh? Yeah. Speaking of Joseph, a lot of people don't know is that Joseph was accused of attempting to rape Potiphar's wife. Potiphar took David or Joseph and had him bound and questioned him in regards to this. And Joseph told the story about how his sister had been raped when he was young. His sister had been raped, and the destruction that his brothers did to the city that they were encamped outside of because of that rape. And basically what it was Abraham was going to allow the man who raped his daughter to marry his daughter to in order to ensure that his daughter would be able to have a future, because it's she's no longer a virgin, so a marriage outside of virginity back then was frowned upon, and Joseph was moved from Potiphar's house afterwards. First off, Potiphar's wife demanded that Joseph be executed. And it was one humiliation for another, because Potiphar knew that his wife had been sleeping with many of the slaves in their household. And their relationship was rather rocky. And basically, she asked him, why did you send him to prison and have him working for you in the prison instead of having him executed? And he looked at her and he says, one humiliation deserves another. Basically because you tried to humiliate this young man who made our lives so much easier because of his ability to, one of the biggest things was that Joseph, with the learning that he had from his father, and from his older brothers as well, as a youngster, learned how to read, learned how to write, and learned how to read architectural drawings. So this guy comes to Potiphar's house to build a shrine and garden supporting the shrine for Potiphar, and that's when it was discovered that he could read these pictures. He could read and understand the drawings, understood the measurements and things like that. So even the guy who was beating him and trying to teach him to be the perfect slave ended up working for Joseph in that household. Basically, the way it worked out was Joseph was the next authority of the household outside of Potiphar. And then what ended up happening because he went and spent the time cleaning up the prison, getting teaching people in the prison how to read, how to write, educating them in prison. You know, he ended up deciphering a couple of dreams for a couple of prisoners that were brought in. That one was the Pharaoh's cup holder, and the other one was the baker for the Pharaoh. And one of the two of them stole a gold bracelet. You remember the old bracelets that they had were, they weren't like what we wear as a bracelet today. You know, a simple strand of copper or something like that. These were, gold, almost like gauntlet sized. You know, what we would consider an artifact now. Worth thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. So, Joseph deciphered their dreams. He told the cupbearer, after the cupbearer had his dream, about, going back and delivering, pouring, or basically the dream was that he was in the vineyard, and all of a sudden the grapes all started ripening and everything else, and he took them and squeezed them and filled up the cup and then handed it to Pharaoh. And so Joseph told him, in 3 days you're going to be elevated back to your position. And then the baker said, well, I had 3 hats on, or 3 trays on my head, and the birds were eating the pastries that, and the breads that he made. And Joseph said that at first he told the guy, he says, I can't tell you, I can't, break down your dream for you and interpret your dream for you. And the guy got upset and got violent with him. And so Joseph told him, he says, in 3 days, you're going to be lifted up by Pharaoh as well, only you're going to be hung. 3 days later, he was hung. Now, this is the crazy thing, is that the Pharaoh didn't know any of this was going on. Okay. That Joseph had predicted these things. It was only when the Pharaoh had the dream about the fields, that he had, six fields or seven fields of beautiful grain, and then he had 7 years or 7 fields of grain that just withered and devoured the good grain, and all the grain disappeared. Okay, and then the second dream was that they saw a sea cow in the water, and there were 7 sea cows in the water, and then there were 7 other sea cows came along and devoured the 7 healthy sea cows, and and so without even telling Joseph the dream, he said, I want you to tell me my dream, and I want you to give me the interpretation of it. And he said, he said that, well, no, they told him the first dream. And then Joseph said to him, what is the second dream? And the Pharaohs looked at Potiphar, who was his right-hand man. And he said, and Potiphar said, we didn't tell him that there was a second dream. We didn't tell him. But it was the cupbearer who alerted the Pharaoh that Joseph's prediction was 100% correct, that he would be back bearing the cup of the Pharaoh because of a dream. Okay. So at that point there, Pharaoh sent him back to prison after he told him the second dream. He says, Egypt is going to suffer for or is going to have 7 years of plenty, and then there's going to be 7 years of famine. And Pharaoh says, how could my brother and sister, the moon and the stars, tell you my the purpose of my dream? Okay. And he sent him back to the prison. Well, that night he had the same damn dreams again, and he woke up screaming, and he didn't know what to do. He even called his wife in and said, "What do I do?" And his wife said, "Listen, I'm not going to give you any answers to this because I want to keep my head on my shoulder. I don't want to die like these other people, who couldn't answer the dreams." But the maidservant of his wife said that she thinks that Joseph was right and that these were things that were going to come to pass. So what did Pharaoh do? Pharaoh brought him in and he said, "Well, what can I do to stop this?" Okay. And he said to Pharaoh, he says, "Well, you have to find somebody that you can trust, somebody who's honest, and put them in charge and have 10% of all yielding farms in the country send 10% of their grain to the granaries that you will build. And through this, over the 7 years, we'll have enough of a grain supply in order to feed the people for 7 years, plus be able to take care of the surrounding countries that are suffering from the same drought." Right? Okay. And Pharaoh's looking around and he's saying, "Where do I find this man? Where do I find this man? How do I find somebody when everybody around me just panders to me? Doesn't tell me the truth. They tell me what I want to hear so that, so that I'm comfortable instead of telling me the truth and making me change things in order to better the lives of my people." And he's looking around and he's looking around and he looks at the wise men that he had told the dream to, that they couldn't figure out what the hell it was. They just basically repeated the dream back to him. They couldn't make heads or tail of it. Okay. And they were lucky that they weren't sent out to be executed for not being able to answer the king or the Pharaoh's questions. Okay. So what's he do? He looks at the maidservant of his wife, and she sees that she has eyes for Joseph. Okay. And he decides on the spur of the moment that I can trust no man except for this man who was able to interpret my dreams. So what did he do? He made him the authority, the governor of all of Egypt, with the only authority above him being Pharaoh himself. Okay? It was that simple. So not only did Joseph save Egypt, but he saved all the surrounding countries because of the wealth of grain that they had. The Egyptian empire made bank. Their wealth increased threefold because of the work that Joseph did, because of the way that he conducted himself and the way that he conducted business. Even his own brothers who sold him into slavery came before him to get grain, and they didn't even recognize him. And he wanted to help them, but at the same time, he wanted to see if they changed because he hadn't seen them in 20 years. He wanted to know if they changed. Now, the brothers, outside of Benjamin and Joseph, all came from the other wives, okay, from Jacob's other wives. Rebecca only had 2 children, and that was Joseph and Benjamin, and they were the youngest. So they had no idea what Joseph would have looked like as an adult because of different parentage. So when they stood before him in Egypt, they didn't even recognize him. And he tested them. He tricked them into having to bring Benjamin before them, keeping Simeon in prison while they took the grain that they got in the first purchase back. And Jacob didn't want to let Benjamin go. Didn't want to let him go. But after a period of time, you're running out of grain. You have no choice. Either your flocks are going to die and your people are going to die, or you're going to do something about it. and you're going to let Benjamin go. And Benjamin went. Okay. And it was only through seeing that Benjamin was a good, upstanding young man, and that his love for his father and for his God, okay, were prevalent, that he finally revealed who he was. But there was a test, no doubt about it. Simeon had no idea if he would live or die while he was sitting in prison. Okay. And just to let you know, there was a 6-month period between the time that they came and bought the grain and had to come back again. Okay. 6 months. So he only spent the first 30 days in the prison. And then Joseph moved him out of the prison into a household next to his house. And nobody ever told him who he was. Nobody ever told Simeon who Joseph was. Because Pharaoh had given him a new name, So, and then in the end of it, what happened? Israel, Jacob, and all of his people all ended up moving to Egypt to live out the last 6 years of the famine, where they ended up staying, and ended up after Jacob died and after Joseph died, they started refusing to pay the Egyptian taxes, started money lending and things like that, usury. Okay. And they were forced into slavery at that point. They owed so much in taxes that the only thing that they do is fall into servitude. That was it, So yeah, it goes into a big history of it. So if the Grand Canyon documents the entire history of Joseph, we have to ask ourselves, what exactly is the Grand Canyon? And what country do we exactly exist and live in today? Where is the real land that Israel was promised? Was it what they call Israel now? That plot of land in Palestine? Was it? I don't think so. I think the land of milk and honey always was what we call today these United States for America. How could we provide for the entire world if we were not the land of milk and honey? Lots of questions. And the thing is it's just a matter of taking your perspective and then looking at the evidence of what is being revealed to us of our own country, areas that we are not allowed to go into, that have been closed off from us for more than 100 years, some for up to 200 years, areas that we are not allowed to go at all. There's always a military stopping you or a private security company stopping you and all of this. Great questions. And a totally different perspective. Now, that's not saying that Palestine is not the home of the Holy Land. I'm not saying that. I believe that our countries were actually closer together and connecting in more ways than one. I think that through all the earthquakes and everything else that have transpired throughout all these years, okay, throughout the centuries that this planet has been, or since that this plane has been in existence, is what has caused the separation. Maybe it was the fall of Babylon, when all the countries were separated by their language. And maybe that's when the countries were separated, when the waters became more vast in between different areas. But I believe that all of the countries, continents, all the continents of the world were at one time all accessible to each other by land, not having to go by sea, other than to have a quicker trip. So there's a lot there. There's a lot to look at, a lot to think about, a lot to process. And the thing is looking at these things doesn't make us non-believers of the Bible. It just gives us an alternative perspective to the land in which we live on. For we live in the land of milk and honey. Where is the best cattle production in the world history done? Here in the United States. Thus, milk. Where is the most beautiful pollinating, the pollination of flowers and plants, just saying, there's a lot there. Just a lot there. Yep. What can we do? All right. This is pretty explosive. Has anybody else heard about this? This is interesting. Here we go.
Trump, body cam, Pennsylvania, busted. Body cam footage from the Butler police confirm what I said on July 17th. There were 5 shots fired by Thomas Crooks, and Crooks wasn't the one who shot Trump. There were 3 shots fired from a position 60 feet farther away from Crooks, meaning behind him. Those were the first 3 shots fired at Trump. Those 3 shots have audio footprints consistent with shots being fired from indoors. Crooks was factually outside, and the group of 5 shots fired share an audio footprint consistent with an open-air shot. Both Chris Martenson and myself double confirmed this through independent audio analysis. Now the receipts are in, and it's not good for the ones truly responsible for the attempted assassination of Donald Trump. Officers on body cam are captured counting the rounds on the roof when they climbed up, and they said 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, just like I said.
Watch out for shell cases.
2, 3, 4, 5 right there.
No more guys up here.
To recap what I said on July 17th, 3 shots came from a professional from indoors, 60 feet farther than the second group, which was fired by Thomas Crooks. Those 5 shots fired in the second group are consistent with shots being fired outdoors. So what now? The FBI must accept as fact that there were 2 Trump shooters on July 13th. What they have to do now is start looking for that suspect. And I'd start with the guy in the window named Greg.
Now you remember that there was that the guy in the suit got up on the roof, and they told him, "Oh, we'll go over to that window over there, knock on that window over there, ask for Greg." Yep. Lots of things. Lots and lots of things. MJ Truth Ultra says, "Whoa, there it is. Archbishop Carlo Maria Vigano called Emmanuel Macron's wife a transvestite and called out Michelle Obama as a muscular man in a wig while condemning the Satanic Olympics. It is no coincidence that the sponsoring revolting carnival is an emissary of the World Economic Forum, Emmanuel Macron, who passes off a transvestite as his own wife with impunity, just as a Barack Obama is accompanied by a muscular man in a wig. Oh, boy. So let's see if we can get this big enough that I can read it. Okay. Glasses. Where are my glasses? Where are my glasses? They're there. Oh, boy, they're dirty. Give me a minute here, guys. I got to clean my glasses. Wow, what a mess you are. Absolute mess. So, got to tell you guys that we all of a sudden slipped into fall weather here. So that strange July is really going on. Because last night it was 41 degrees at night. It didn't get over 62 degrees. It is right now outside. And it is 12:47 in the afternoon, and it is 62 degrees. And we've had rain. Normally, we do not see any rain until the last week of September, first week of October. And yeah, strange July is definitely a good way to put it. All right. So this is a statement by Archbishop Vigano following the sacrileges and scandals of the Paris Olympic Games. The opening ceremony of the Paris Olympic Games is only the latest in a long series of vile attacks on God, the Catholic religion, and natural morality by the anti-Christic elite that holds Western countries hostage. We had seen no less disconcerting scenes at the 2012 London Olympics, the 2016 inauguration of the Gothard Tunnel, and the 2022 Commonwealth Games featuring infernal figures, goats, and terrifying animals. The elite who organizes these ceremonies demand not only the right to blasphemy and the obscene display of the foulest vices, but even their mute acceptance by Catholics and decent people who are forced to suffer the outrage of seeing the most sacred symbols of their faith and the very foundations of the natural law desecrated. We witnessed a dystopian dance macabre, in which holograms of the horsemen of the apocalypse alternated with a plump blue Dionysus served under a bell of various courses, parody of the LGBTQ plus Last Supper, the truculent performance of a decapitated Maria Antoinette singing Si Caira, called to celebrate the horrors of the French Revolution, the ballets of bearded transvestites and effeminate dancers accompanied by pitiful mime singers. In this provocative spectacle, Satan knows how to do nothing except ruins God's creative perfection, show himself as the envious author of every counterfeit. Satan creates nothing. He only ruins everything. He does not invent. He tampers. And his followers are no different. They humiliate women's femininity in order to erase the motherhood that recalls the Virgin Mary or the Virgin Mother. They castrate men's manhood in order to tear from him the image of God's fatherhood. They corrupt the little ones in order to kill innocence in them and make them victims of the most abject wokeism. The opening ceremonies of the Olympic Games have given scandal, not only because of the arrogant display of the ugly and obscene, but because of the infernal subversion of good and evil. The insane claim to be able to blaspheme and desecrate everything even what is most sacred, in the name of ideology of death, ugliness, and lies that defies Christ and scandalizes those who recognize him as Lord and God. It is no coincidence that the one sponsoring this revolting carnival is emissary of the World Economic Forum, Emmanuel Macron, who passes off a transvestite as his own wife with impunity, just as Barack Obama is accompanied by a muscular man in a wig. It is the reign of mystification, of falsehood, of fiction erected as a totem, in which man is disfigured precisely because he was created in the image and likeness of God. Tolerance cannot be the alibi for the systematic destruction of Christian society, a society by which billions of honest and hitherto silent people identify themselves. This prevarication, I would say provocation is what that's supposed to be, must end. And it must end not so much and not only because it hurts the sensibilities of believers, but because it offends the majesty of God. Satan does not have the rights of God. Evil cannot be put on the same level as good, nor can lies be equated with truth. This is what our civilization is based on, a civilization that some would like to bury under the physical and moral rubble of a world in shambles. It must be made clear that the patience and forbearance of the faithful and of citizens have been exhausted. That is no longer time to deplore, but to act, even and especially when civil and religious authorities are complicit in the betrayal. It is therefore necessary for Christians to organize around the world with concrete actions, first and foremost with a boycott of the Olympic Games and all their sponsors. It is equally necessary for companies not subservient to globalism to revoke their sponsorship contracts, and for delegations and individual athletes to withdraw from the games, which were inaugurated under the worst auspices. We must expect and demand that those responsible for this intolerable bullying be held accountable for their actions, as well as for the corruption that also accompanies this event. Finally, the homosexual set designer who gave birth to this blasphemous and vulgar spectacle must repay the fee that Macronians charged French taxpayers. I urge Catholics to make reparation by prayer, fasting, and penance for the outrages perpetrated against our Lord Jesus Christ and against our holy religion. And may the confident recourse of those who are good before the throne of the Most High not be divorced from a general awakening of consciousnesses, so that the King of Kings may once more reign over nations, societies, families, and the church. Signed, Carlo Maria Vigano, Archbishop, and that was done on July 28th of 2024. So there's a lot there. He just laid it all out. And we already knew about Big Mike, though. All right. Holy crap. They are wiping every mention of Kamala Harris's drug sentencing convictions off the internet. They are literally wiping away her record as we speak, which is true.
Did Kamala Harris wipe her drug sentencing record clean from the internet? I wanted to find out how many people Kamala Harris had sent to jail for marijuana-related offenses during her time as a prosecutor. I couldn't find it on the internet anywhere, so I asked ChatGPT. I said, how many people did Kamala Harris prosecute for marijuana? It said that she handled over 1,900 marijuana-related convictions. So I asked the AI engine for sources, and each source was valid, except the one related to how many convictions her office actually handled. ChatGPT cited the Washington Examiner, and when I clicked the link, I was given an error 404. This webpage does not exist. I asked if it could provide me with some more links, and so it did. It cited PolitiFact, Democracy Now!, and Marie Claire. So I clicked the PolitiFact link. This webpage does not exist. Democracy Now!, the page you're looking for doesn't exist. Marie Claire? Sorry, error 404. Every other time that I've used ChatGPT to gain sources, the links have always worked. It's only with this specific claim, this specific piece of information, that every single source that at one time made this claim has taken their webpage down. Let me know what you think down below, and follow me here for updates.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, we already know that they're trying to erase a whole lot, you know. All right. A president with a felony. Now, this guy makes a really valid and serious point here. So if any of you have a felony, have a hard time finding a job, things like that, well, this is what I want you to do. I want you to pay close attention to what this guy is saying in regards to Trump's felony charge and if he wins office. I think this is a very interesting perspective.
I am not a Trump supporter, man. Let me just get that out the way, bro. But I am a logic supporter. So let's just talk about it, man. One of the things I'm hearing or seeing people say is, Trump's a felon. Trump's a felon. You gonna let a felon be president? And it's mostly black people I'm hearing that from, which is shocking because over half of the felons in America are black men, you know? And I'm sure that a lot of those black men were charged unjustly or couldn't afford legal counsel or representation, potentially had to take a plea bargain just to fucking come home. So, but let's talk about it. You know how criminal justice reform happens? When a felon becomes president. When a felon becomes president, it sets a legal precedent. It sets a precedent that a person with a felony can hold the highest office in America. What that does is it changes the perception of felons and people with felonies. It changes it a lot. It'll be extremely hard for employers to justify not hiring felons if the president is a felon. It's going to be extremely difficult for people to admonish felons and look at felons as if they are less than if the president is a felon. This lays the foundation and framework for criminal justice reform, which is going to benefit who the most? Black people, the most disenfranchised group. Like, you got to understand, when slavery ended and the 13th Amendment took place, it basically legalized slavery through the criminal justice system, which thus put another target on our back, using the F word, felony. So just imagine for a second that if Trump's convicted felon ass wins, the obligation Trump would have to spearhead a criminal justice reform. Let's not forget that when Trump was president previously, he definitely spearheaded a criminal justice reform with Kim Kardashian's ass. And it got a lot of nonviolent offenders out of prison. It helped black families become whole again. So I'm not saying Trump is the solution to anything. I'm saying that a felon becoming president is a good precedent to change the stigmas around felonies. That's just simple logic. Vote for who you want to vote for. Vote for who represents your agenda. All I'm saying is stop all the fear mongering and saying stupid shit. Learn. Educate yourself. Make sure you like, share.
Yeah. Interesting perspective, huh? Very interesting perspective. And, you know, that is something that Trump has always been talking about, was reforming, you know. So, yeah, I think that's, yeah. All right, here we go.
Return home from the Olympics. Return home from the Olympics, not to participate. And the African president just requested all athletes to return home. That's the first of many nations, I'm sure. After what they saw, they absolutely were disgusted. And I would say rightfully so. If they want to have a Pride Olympics, let them have a Pride Olympics, just like they have other types of Olympics. But in the main Olympics, it is about country against country. It is about the best in various different
sports. She couldn't come up with the word.
Competing against the best. It is not about making a statement concerning who you are. It is about making a statement about who we are. And apparently some of you have forgotten. It is about making a statement about the entire country. Many of you do not represent our country. You represent yourselves. And that's the problem. You represent a specific community. And that's the problem. It would be like all the white people going, or all the black people going, or all the Hispanic people going, or whatever it is. You represent a community. There's a difference. And we shouldn't say it all the white people, the black people. We should say all the white people from Italy Street. That's not what it's about. It is about picking the best and finest athletes in the world those who truly want to beat others because they know they represent the United States. And these individuals do not represent the United States. They represent a specific group. Therein lies the difference. And that's not okay, because that's not what the Olympics is about. And that's sad. That is truly,
truly sad. Yep. All right. This is in regards to a San Antonio police officer who was shot by an illegal immigrant. Here we go.
Fernando Dorsey here, citizen journalist at the American Replacement Center. We have breaking news from this morning here where an SAPD officer, a female officer, was shot at by an illegal alien that was not supposed to be in our country. The man, his name is Gutierrez, a Venezuelan who entered last November to Piedras Negras, which is most likely he came in through this hub, just shot at a SAPD officer, a female officer. She returned fire, and the suspect is dead on arrival, DOA. Fernando Arce here reporting that this is what the Biden and the Harris regime has brought us, where law enforcement, law officers are being shot at by illegal aliens every day in our country. Not only that, they're assaulting our American citizens and our women and our children. And so I'm here to report that this is breaking news. SAPD officer, female, got a report for some domestic violence here in San Antonio, where the suspect was in bed with a rifle, probably an AR-15, and returned fire to an officer. Well, shot at the officer first. The officer shot back and killed the assailant. These are crimes that don't need to happen. These are crimes that should not be happening in our country, where illegal aliens are committing crimes every day in the thousands all across this country, whether it's drunk driving, whether it's domestic abuse, whether it's raping girls and murdering people every day, whether it's selling drugs. Now we have illegal aliens shooting at San Antonio police officers. Meanwhile, I get detained for filming on a public street. I get detained. I get handcuffed for documenting the invasion of our country. So they put more time and effort in harassing me as opposed to going after the bad guys that are killing them, that are killing their own people in their own force. Make that make sense. This is our world. This comes in the heels of our commander-in-chief, Donald J. Trump, President Trump, being almost assassinated with a shot to his head. He could take a shot to the head. I could document here. At least I could do so I could bring you, the American people, the truth of what's happening in our borders. And I'm the only one here. And I've been here for almost 2.5 years documenting the invasion, reporting. I don't have to be doing this. I have a full-time job. But the breaking news here is that the SAPD officer, female officer, was shot by an illegal alien this morning. He probably came in through this here hub. These officers probably serviced him. They fed him inside here. They clothed him inside here. They gave him a bed inside here. They transported him from the border of Piedras Negras, Eagle Pass, to San Antonio, most likely. They probably even gave him a flight ticket to leave the city. I don't know. But this is the world we live into. This is the Kamala Harris czar of the border. These are the results of not following immigration law. Fernando Arce here, citizen journalist for God and Country.
All right. Yeah. Interesting turn of events there. Yeah, I actually have photos of that board. He was actually waiting. He was hoping that his second board would be finished. He had sent it to a person to get painted, and he was going to do the Golgotha scene of the three crosses, and the clouds rolling in the background with the sun shining only on the cross that Christ was on. But it wasn't completed yet, so he wasn't able to take that one with him. That was kind of interesting. So this is, I was talking about Musqueam Beach earlier. Chuck Lesto says, dragonflies swarm beach in Rhode Island. Biblical? And this is Mesquamaket Beach. This is a beach that I worked on as a musician for years. Did all kinds of music on these beaches, and as well as the clubs there in Mesquamaket, some of the big restaurants there, as well as the Narragansett area and Cranston area of Rhode Island. Dave actually was out. Actually was in Rhode Island at the time that I was actually touring clubs in Rhode Island, and we had never crossed paths. But we had never crossed paths during that period of time. But yeah, so
holy shit,
millions and millions of dragonflies, and these things are not little; they are huge.
I've never seen anything like this in my life. Oh my god! This is crazy! Holy shit!
Yeah. Dragonflies consume anywhere between 8 to 25 flies a day. They consume them. Well, right now our viewer count, guys, I got to bring this over just to show you. It says, you see it, right? It says, well, oh man, we lost 2. Dang it. Okay, so I can't do it now. We were at 420, but it went away. It's 418 now. Somebody got upset because I was going to show it. So, I can't do it now. Just ruined it. I was going to get an extra 420 this hour and somebody messed it up. Yep. That's wrong. It's just wrong. Oh, now we jumped from 419 to 421. Yeah. Not cool, guys. Not cool. Playing with my numbers like that. How dare you? It's all right. All right. Man says he was cured from chronic TDS. Oh boy, here we go.
As somebody who lived with chronic TDS, trunk derangement syndrome, for most of my early adulthood, I want to share with you guys how I overcame my TDS and became a freethinker. TDS is characterized by a consuming and often unfounded hatred of Donald Trump, and symptoms include but are not limited to having blue hair, having a victim mentality, and watching CNN. I want to clarify that I do have reservations when it comes to Donald Trump. He is not the perfect politician, and nobody is. But I would be lying if I said I didn't believe there was a concerted effort by the media to cause the general public to have an emotional reaction to Donald Trump. But I personally would consider this to be political propaganda that absolutely worked on me. But as I grew older, I began to realize that I do sometimes align with Trump from a policy perspective. But I had always thought of Trump as far right, and I certainly knew that I wasn't far right. I also knew that half of the country voted for this man, and my lived experience would inform me that half of the country are not far-right extremists. Politics are complex, these issues are all incredibly nuanced, and you can't expect everybody to interpret Trump's behavior in the exact same way. Now that I'm cured of my TDS, I'm able to realize how many people are still suffering from TDS symptoms. In fact, I can always sense the emotional responses bubbling up when he comes up in conversation. I see people equating his supporters with far-right extremists, when the reality is that the vast majority of his supporters are hardworking, everyday Americans who love this country and want to see it thrive. As I said, this video is not meant to be an endorsement of Donald Trump. It's simply meant to call out political propaganda so that we can all be aware of the narratives that are unfolding all around us.
Yeah. Well, he said, the political narratives all around us. It's all propaganda. It's all propaganda. September 11th, 2001, coincidences you were never told. Wall Street Babes put this out. The 9/11 Commission also does not tell you that Marvin Bush, President George Bush's brother, and their cousin were the principals of the company that was in charge of the security for the World Trade Center. Yeah.
The 9/11 Commission also does not tell you that Marvin Bush, the president's brother, and their cousin, Wirt Walker, were the principals of the company that was in charge of security for the World Trade Center. They don't, man, yeah.
The jaw-dropping coincidences kept piling up.
I learned that Stratasec was a security company which used to be called Securicom. And they didn't just handle security for the World Trade Center complex. They had contracts with Dulles International Airport, from where Flight 93 departed, and United Airlines, accounting for most of the security breakdowns on 9/11. And another thing, Stratasec also handles security for Los Alamos National Labs, one of the only places on the planet that can produce the nanothermite found in the ground zero dust. The odds are pretty astonishing that one company can link so many vital elements of 9/11. But more astonishing is there's no mention of Stratasec or Securicom in the entire 567-page 9/11 Commission report. Of course, that was no surprise by now. Did I forget to mention that that same 9/11 Commission did not mention the collapse of Building 7 in the entire report either?
Why is there not a word about the collapse of that building in the 9/11 Commission report? We didn't see any.
Yep. Good questions. Very good questions. All right. Never forget, this is how Google executives reacted after Trump won the 2016 election. I don't think there's a question of if they're willing to commit election interference. They are. The question is if there will be legal consequences. I kind of really don't even want to play this, but I'm going
We have had most, I know this is probably not the most joyous TGIF we have had. Most people here are pretty upset and pretty sad because of the election.
I'm glad we're getting together at a moment like this.
And I think it's a very stressful time.
It's been an extraordinarily stressful time, I'm sure, for many of you. There is a lot of fear within Google.
I'm seeing Googlers who are full of fear.
There are people who are very afraid.
They're full of fear about the future. They're full of fear about what the uncertainty means for them and their families.
It's uncertain for many of us here, especially immigrants or minorities, women,
blacks, people who are afraid based on religion, the LGBTQ community.
I would just advise us all to be calm. There's a GCOM place that you can go to and just take a breath. Healing is a process. It does take time.
As an immigrant and a refugee, I certainly find this election deeply offensive.
It did feel like a ton of bricks dropped on my chest.
Trump specifically, who I know many of us find very offensive.
And I've had a chance to talk to a lot of fellow Googlers, and people have said different words, similar concept, how painful this is.
I find so many things that Trump said very offensive.
I reached out to someone close to me who was at the Javits Center where the big celebration was supposed to occur in New York City, somebody who'd been working on the campaign. And I just sent him a note and said, are you okay? It looks like it's going the wrong way. And I got back a very sad, short text that read, people are leaving, staff is crying, we're gonna lose. That was the first moment I really felt like we were going to lose. And it was this massive, kick in the gut that we were going to lose. And it was really painful.
Yep, you ain't felt nothing yet. Just wait. When Section 230 is repealed, you're really going to be crying, Google. You're really going to be crying. Yep. Shipwreck. Oh, boy. I'm not even going to read what she said. I'm just going to let her say it. Here we go.
Good morning to everybody except for the women who are telling other women that they need to vote for Kamala Harris simply because she's a woman and women's rights. Morning to everyone except the women who are comparing what they think is going to happen to Handmaid's Tale. Live in a Handmaid's Tale if we elect Donald Trump. This is coming from the same people who not that long ago wanted to change the description of a woman to birth giver, who were actively encouraging women to have babies so that gay men couples could adopt them. They were celebrating it. Wanted to take over Mother's Day and call it Parents' Day, or Pretty Mum when it came to Father's Day. Morning to everybody, except for the people who are like that. What the fuck is wrong with you? We're actively encouraging a Handmaid's Tale type of situation while screaming about how you don't want to live in a Handmaid's Tale type of situation. It's been 3 years trying to erase women from history and from women's sports. Now you're going to run your mouth on this whole campaign about women's rights. Some of y'all need to shut the fuck up, sit the fuck down. Maybe many people forgot. But Pepperidge Farm remembers being a woman didn't hold quite the stature the last 3 years as it seems to do now. All of a sudden, it's important to be a woman. Now, all of a sudden, we're going to vote for a woman, not a cis woman. No, not a cis woman, a woman to be president. Pepperidge Farm remembers. Anybody else that's listening to this video, listen, I need you to do your research and just read the legislation and read the plans that are laid out in front of you, even the plans that Kamala has put out in front of you, even though there aren't any yet. No idea what she's going to do. You have no clue. Stop being a disgraced woman. You're making us look stupid. You're making us look you're making us look like the stereotypical woman that just votes because of purses and hair and makeup. You look retarded. You just do. I fucking said it. Just shut up. Screaming about democracy. Democracy was ripped out from under you when they did what they did to Joe Biden. All the Joe Bidens. Democracy. You don't get to ride on the women's rights train now. We saw you. The allies. We saw you. Celebrating men dressed up in dresses. We saw you. Giving big kudos to Dylan Mulvaney when he got a tampon sponsorship, a paid sponsorship that should have went to a woman. Stop making us look bad. Stop making us look dumb.
Ladies, I'm going to leave that in your lap. You do with it what you want. I don't have boobs and I don't have hoochie, so I'm not going there. Nope. Can't make me. Yep. All right. I'm going to avoid this one because, Mexico has fallen.
Let's talk distraction. Now, I'm sure at this point, most people have seen at least a little bit of the opening scenes at the Olympics this year. And even if you're not directly affected by it, it was a bit ridiculous. And that's when you gotta ask yourself why. Why make it about that? And why so over the top? But more importantly, what are they distracting us from? What else is more important that's going on at the same time?
Whoop. I'm gonna back this up a second because I want to be able to read that title. Top Sinaloa cartel leaders including El Chapo taken into U.S. custody, Department of Justice.
And why would they want to distract you from that? Well, if you saw that article and found it pretty interesting, you can start going down the rabbit hole.
All right, the Cartel Project, how Israeli firearms fall into the hands of Mexican drug cartels. Israel sold Mexico over 24,000 guns and rifles from 2006 to 2018. A new report conducted as part of a global investigation reveals with little oversight, Israel has inadvertently helped fuel violence in the country. From 2006 until 2018, some 238,000 firearms were exported to Mexico from Europe, including 24,000 guns and rifles from Israel.
Then you start understanding exactly why they don't want you to see it.
Tech-savvy Mexican drug cartels find a new partner, Israeli spyware. Mexican drug cartels are increasingly making use of Israeli spyware as they attempt to stay one step ahead of the government and journalists. Cartel gunmen are seen near a burning truck during clashes with federal forces following the detention of Ovidio Guzman, son of drug kingpin Joaquin El Chapo Guzman in Culiacan, Sinaloa State, Mexico, October 17, 2017, 2019.
Things they really don't want you knowing.
Israeli official faces corruption allegations in Honduras president's trial. A witness in the trial accused an unnamed member of the Israeli embassy in Colombia of participating in a cocaine ring. Assistant U.S. Attorney Jacob Gutwillig presents his closing argument in the trial of former Honduras President Juan El Dorado Hernandez on March 6th.
Because then you might just start to see things a little differently.
Tape shows Israelis training cartel killers. Bogota, Colombia. Experienced Israelis instructors trained private paramilitary units whose members included a leader of the Medellin Meddling drug cartels, death squads blamed in the killings this month of 4 judges and 9 court workers, according to the videotape prepared by the Israelis themselves.
But what do I know? Stay safe.
Everything is connected. I'm telling you, everything is connected. Everything. Smoking gun. Here we go.
Now to an ABC News exclusive. We're hearing from some of the local SWAT team members who were on duty during Trump's rally in Pennsylvania.
These are the SWAT team members who were assigned to take up positions in defense of former President Trump in Butler, Pennsylvania. And they told us they had no communication with the Secret Service until after the gunfire started. The SWAT team saw the shooter. They recognized him as suspicious, even took pictures of him. None of the concerns, though, had a chance of reaching decision makers before Trump took the stage.
We were supposed to get a face-to-face briefing with the Secret Service snipers whenever they arrived, and that never happened. So I think that was probably a pivotal point where I started thinking things were wrong, because that never happened, and we had no communication with the Secret Service.
You had no communication with the Secret Service at all on that Saturday?
Not until after the shooting.
And by then?
It was too late.
Mm-hmm. So many questions. So many questions. All right. Satan's seeds are walking among us. Here we go. Auntie Coulette.
I just reviewed 30 minutes of the body cam footage, camera 1 and camera 2, of the killing of Sonia Massey. Oh, but first things first, TikTok, you know this is purely for entertainment purposes only. All things stated here, just speculation. There's nothing entertaining about a beautiful woman losing her life. But disclaimer's been said, so let's go. A Springfield woman who, after calling the police because she believed that there was a prowler outside of her home, was fatally unalived by an officer after she rebuked him in the name of Jesus. The officer claimed that she was coming at him with boiling water, but even a simple review of his body cam or his partner's body cam proves this was not true. But I just watched that footage and I caught something I'm not sure anybody else has caught. But before I get to that, I want to talk about this. Although we do have the body cam footage from both officers' body cams, and we know what they saw from their point of view, we don't and we will never see it from Sonia's point of view. What did Sonia see in that officer's face that would lead her to rebuke a demon out in the name of Jesus? Spiritual attack is extremely real, and we know, especially with the new discovery of PMO, a very, very recently discovered clinical diagnosis of a patient who will suddenly see somebody in front of them, friend, family, or stranger, whose face will suddenly morph into a demonic face, which is all becoming too common, more common than it's ever been before. And that is for one very good reason. The veil between the spirit realm and ours is thinning. And as of April 8th, our world has been flooded with demonic entities from places we've never known, and an amount of demonic entities we've never had here in our world ever before. It will forever be a mystery as to what Sonia Massey saw on that officer's face that night. But I can tell you hands down, my friends, she saw something. I am physically shook, shaken. I am actually shaking as we speak. I'm having a hard time making this video. The officer instructed Sonia to remove a pot of boiling water from her stove so that they would not, in his words, be dealing with a fire. Following the officer's instructions, Sonia went into the kitchen, grabbed 2 pot holders, and began to remove the boiling water from the stove. At which point, she looked up at the officer, and like I said, she saw something or someone in that officer's face that would lead her then to immediately call on Christ and rebuke the demon in Jesus' name. After saying, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," the officer said, "What did you say?" Sonia repeated herself, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." Instantly agitating this officer to become extremely aggressive. And in his words, "You'd better effing not, or I will effing shoot you in the effing face." At which point, Sonia put her hands in the air and said, I'm sorry, and ducked down out of fear. She did not have the pot in her hand. She had her hands in the air and apologized, falling to the floor, taking cover, as the officer had his pew-pew pointed right at Massey's face. At which point, the officer fired 3 shots, one of which was a fatal shot to the face. I'm going to tell you guys right now, demonic entities are very real. The spirit realm is extremely real. And that doorway, that portal that was open on April 8th, was open to a dimension where the worst, absolute, most evil of these entities are kept, flooding our world with these entities. But it is what happened after Sonia was fatally shot that I caught just now as I was watching the video very closely, looking for anything. I watched the video from the beginning of the footage on the body cams where the officers hadn't even spoke with Sonia yet. They were patrolling around looking for whatever or whoever they thought might be a prowler outside of her home, which she had called in. I watched 33 minutes of all of the body cam footage, searching for something, some truth that maybe we had missed. And my beautiful friends, not only did I find it, I also found confirmation and an answer to the long age-old question, where do we go when we die? The Bible says that we sleep, but many things in the Bible are taken incorrectly. I truly believe in this. I believe is proof. When it says we sleep, it only means our body, and that upon death, our soul, our spirit goes home to heaven with God. And that night when Sonia Massey was absolutely wrongfully unalived after rebuking a demon out, which she clearly had to have seen in that officer's face, as gruesome as that footage was to watch, I was able to catch one of the most beautiful moments of that woman's life. Ironically, during one of the most horrific. I caught Sonia going home. I noticed her soul and her spirit leaving her body and flying high to heaven. And I want to share that with you.
She then goes to move a pot of boiling water from her stove when she's heard saying, I rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Away from your hot steaming water. Away from my hot steaming water? Yeah. Oh, I would rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. No, I swear to God, I'll shoot you right your face.
And ducks.
Okay, I'm sorry. Drop the
Killing Massey. He's now been fired from the police force. He has also pleaded not guilty to charges.
Did you see it? Did you see this beautiful woman's soul leave her body? As he called in, I've got a head pew pew to a female over his radio. You can see in the background the beautiful soul of Sonia Massey leave her body and fly high home to heaven. Here, let me show you again, up close and in slow motion.
Officer Grayson fired his pistol 3 times, killing Massey. He's now been fired from the police force. He has also pleaded not guilty.
Watch right here. Watch right here.
He has also pleaded not guilty to charges, including
see it?
first-degree murder.
Did you see it? Did you see it? Watch again. Watch right here in this dark part, and you're going to see it.
He's now been
Watch.
fired from the police force. He has also pleaded not guilty to
Boom.
charges, including first-degree murder.
Did you see it? Watch in the doorway as I slow it down. Right there, my friends. That's in slow motion.
Been fired from the police
Watch
force.
again.
He has also pleaded not guilty to charges.
Did you see it? I'm going to show it to you one more time. It's a white mist vapor coming from Sonia going up. Watch. There. There it is. I'm going to show it to you in real time again. Please watch.
Been fired from the police force. He has also pleaded not guilty to charges.
Not only was I able to capture the moment that Sonia's soul flew to heaven, but I believe I captured the moment she realized she was face to face with a demon. It was long before she ever stepped foot in the kitchen. Watch. Pay close attention to the favor she asked of the police officer when she realized that was a demon. Watch her
They're here
face.
in my house right now. Okay, hold on, you're going to talk to them. No, hold on, wait a second.
She knows.
You can hang up, Conroy. Hold on, you're there with the deputy, correct? No, hold on, okay?
She said no.
You can hang up. For what?
She knows.
1 second, okay?
And what she does next proves that this could be true.
I got some paperwork. Can you grab that Bible, please? Yeah. Hey,
This was not just the moment that Sonia knew she was dealing face to face with a demon, but it was also the moment that the demon knew through the power of discernment of spirit, this child of God knew what she was looking at. The demon was busted. Guys, demons do not care about their vessel, their host. They don't care. If that body is gone for whatever reason, they'll just move on to the next one. That demon knew that boiling water would be the reason to get her lured into the kitchen and for the officer to follow through on what the demon had planned. We do not wrestle against flesh and blood, but against powers and principalities. She asked him to grab the Bible. This was the moment Sonia knew she was dealing with a demon. So if you still wonder where it is that your loved one's soul or spirit goes after they die, whether it is asleep until Yeshua comes back, or if they are in fact home with Yeshua in heaven until you get to see them again, I hope that this video gives you closure, comfort, and peace in knowing when we die, we go home. We go home to God. Those of us who have accepted Yeshua as our Lord and Savior, and God, Yahweh, Abba, is our one true God, we go home. But with that being said, when one person dies, there are ultimately two places that soul could end up. As clearly a Christian woman, Sonia Massey, that day went home to heaven. Sadly, though, those who do deny Christ and do not accept Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior and God as their God, well, I can't say the same. But as for Sonia Massey, we can take comfort in knowing exactly where she is as we speak, in the loving arms of her Father, standing there in heaven with Yeshua and Yahweh. Sonia Massey on that night went home. We will never know what Sonia saw in the face of that officer, but we can say with his reaction clearly what she saw, she was right. The fact that he took 3 pew-pews at her also screams demonic activity, as demons love to mock the Trinity and often do things in threes. All I can say, in my opinion, that night, Sonia Massey, she was not wrong. She was staring a demon face to face, a demon who had a pew-pew. And just at the sound of Yeshua's name, rebuking him in Jesus Christ, the demon inside of that officer became very agitated, very angry, very aggressive. And that demon, that night, took Sonia Massey's life. My heart and prayers go out to Sonia Massey's family, her friends and loved ones. I can't even imagine the pain that they're enduring, especially having to see that footage. She did not have a pot in her hand. She had her arms in the air apologizing as she fell to the ground saying, "I'm sorry." Her last words were, "Fly high, beautiful angel. You are home now."
Yep. And I showed you guys that video when it came out. We didn't go as in depth as she just did, but absolutely. All right. Give me a second here. All right. This is going to be the last one here. Edmund Gonzalez, Eurotia. I have no idea how to say it. Him, Gonzalez guy, won the elections in Venezuela with around 71% of the votes, according to the public analysis of the election records. Maduro committed the biggest election fraud in Latin American history in front of millions of people around the world, and basically began opening fire on people. He had his troops and private paramilitary guys open fire on people waiting to vote, because he knew that he's on his way out. This is going to be interesting change up for the next few days as to what direction this goes. So we hope that Edmundo Gonzalez is able to take office and start to rebuild Venezuela the way that it should be, and get rid of all the corruption that is there. With that, I want to thank everybody for joining me here today. I will be back with you guys again tomorrow, probably around 11 o'clock again. I want to remind you once again that our Creator, He loves you. He wouldn't have made you if, He wouldn't have put that spark of creation into the seed, so that the seed could give life to the egg that produced you. If he didn't love you, and that his son, the Christ, loves you, and I love you, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Peace.